Let's start with the most important germane idea at the moment, which is to look at your title from imagination to execution. And let me negotiate this path in reverse. Execution, there are so many role models of success. So many successful things have happened. And execution, you can draw from that. You may even carve out your own path, along the way. As you think, you can course correct, find new pathways, and reach whatever you think your object or your goal is. But I'm saying when you look at execution, have you thought about the consequences of your success? Let us see a few things. We'll begin with the big elephant in the room, religion. Has it been successful? The practice of religion as a public cause, has it been successful? If you think so, why is there so much trouble in the world? This is not an argument format, so I guess you don't have scope for debate here. But I'm saying, if you look at democracy, is it a successful model? Let's say a multi-party democracy in India. From the time of independence till now, not once ever in national elections has a party won more than 50% of the vote and come to power. So you have this utter paradox of free and fair elections, which actually yield a government which is supported by less than half of the population. More than half of the population is against the government. They didn't vote for that government. Is that successful? Let's look at somebody like, say, Lee Iacocca. I think when we were in college, he was a great role model for cars. Detroit became a ghost town. They're doing something else now, but are cars useful for the world? We all come by cars, but are they useful for the world? I'm saying, which is why we come to the harder part of the question about imagination. What is the idea you have that you have imagined that if you execute will lead to a success that actually is useful in some way? Now, is there a crisis? Let's look at the crisis. What is the biggest crisis of all that is facing us? Almost nobody will actually tell the answer, because they may use a generic word, if at all. They may say climate change. But look at Delhi, for instance. Delhi has a population larger than Australia, a continent. And Delhi has been suffering from this winter fog for I don't know how many. I worked in Delhi in 1998 for a whole year. And it was very bad. Bangalore is going to get there. My point is that intelligent people, successful people who become billionaires live in Delhi. The most powerful people from India actually live in Delhi. And air pollution doesn't bother them. If you make $1 million a year, but every day, particulate matter less than 2.5 microns is getting into your body. It is going through the interstitial tissues, getting into your kidneys and liver and pancreas and spleen. The gastro, part is a Pandora's box. We don't know what is there, from where to where it can travel. It doesn't bother you. You think you can be in air-conditioned cars and you're safe, air-conditioned homes and you're safe? What about your children who can go to international schools and play in the playgrounds and they breathe that poison air? Is that responsible? I'm actually talking to you young people. I'm so glad you're here. Think about this. This was a wholly false idea of success. Actually, the Delhi's number one issue for the last 25 years should have been air pollution. It's going to kill about 1.7 million people by a small estimate, in every year. But actually, it's much more than that. And what is the problem of pollution, air pollution in India? We think it is actually just outdoor air pollution. It is very bad, outdoor air pollution. But 62% of it used to be indoor air pollution, more than outdoor air pollution, because you force women to forage, go into the forest, going to, woodland, a common ground, and pick twigs and wet firewood and come and burn that fetus, smoking carbon monoxide, inhaling carbon monoxide. Little children in the house inhaling carbon, the woman herself inhaling carbon monoxide. You think about this. Bangalore had a great canal system. Water from the top would get into little tanks that were human engineered, that were not natural. And they were interconnected with these Rajakaluves, these canals. Still, you came to the bottom. In the bottom, you had the largest, lakes, like the Belandur Lake or the Vartur Lake and so on. But now they've all been encroached and they're all dirty. And you think if the dirt is in the lake, it gets down. It gets into aquifers. It gets into groundwater. And you're drawing water from the well. You're getting borewell water into your homes. Now let us look at what happens to the water that flows into the west. It gets into the Kaveri basin again. It enters the Kaveri river at Bidadi and it flows down the Kaveri again. And vegetables and fruits are grown in that region. Fishing happens in those waters. And that fish, those vegetables, those fruits are sold in Bangalore, which you're all eating. Pollution is not natural. Humans are the only ones who pollute the planet. There is no pollution in nature. Nature doesn't create waste. Whatever you leave behind as waste is food for some other creature. Life does not create pollution. You don't have to get into virgin deep forest and clean it unless you've been there before. You would have left beer bottles there maybe, Otherwise, you don't have to clean nature. We are dirty. The government does not create solid waste, 4,000, 5,000 tons of solid waste every day in Bangalore. We do it. The government does not create the traffic. We are the traffic. There is something wrong with the imagination we have till now. And when you want to be a successful person, what is the model you can execute now? You think about that first. There is one more thing to consider. It is successful for whom? When you say, I have an idea and I'll be so successful, think about you, young people, you'll be idealistic. You're not yet corrupted. You'll be caring. If you watch a movie where somebody's hurt, you'll probably have tears in your eyes. If your friend gets hurt, you'll have empathy and you'll cry maybe. But you'll lose it as you go on in the way the world is today. But what happens is, when you're successful, if it is at the cost of somebody, what kind of success is that? Who is the other person you have exploited? How many others are there? The air I breathe is the air you breathe. The air I'm exhaling is the air you're inhaling. The air you're exhaling is the air the earth that I'm standing on is the earth that everybody is standing on. One earth, one sky, one air, one water. If you go to the beach and touch water with your foot, that is the water that is touching all of the world, of the planet. We share this. And when you pollute it from one side, it pollutes every side. Remember this. Whether it's air, the earth, or water. When you pollute the soil, when groundwater leaches and your soil gets dirty, you put pesticide into the soil, you put fertilizer into the soil, and it makes it saline and toxic. and you get roses out of that. The roses in Bangalore don't smell anymore, as roses. Do you know? Because there's so much pesticide, and you take the rose and you spray perfume into it, and you probably will get asthma because of it. We are crazy. There is something very wrong in the way we have imagined success so far. So, what shall we do? I'm asking each one of you to look at yourself inside, internally. Look at what you wear, the language you speak, the things that you learn in college or school, what you eat. Nothing is yours. Not one of those things is yours. It's been done by somebody else. The clothes you're wearing, you don't know if child labor was employed to stitch it. You don't know the farmer who grew the cotton that you're wearing committed suicide because of loans. Billionaires can escape to Britain, pay bribes to the white man because that's how they've lived so far. I told somebody today that, the West is going to some permanent decline. There are no more countries or continents to loot, permanent decline. That's how they are. But farmers have self-respect. They feel bad that they cannot pay a 40,000 rupee loan and they commit suicide. If you're wearing the cotton that person grew, what about the vegetables that you buy? If you go and bargain and say, why is this pack this little? I told my daughter, I'll take a personal story. 1 minute, I'll tell you. My daughter said, once I went to buy vegetables, men are stupid, we buy vegetables badly. So I went there and, she asked for something and I gave the money. Okay, my daughter said, she was fifth standard. She said, you don't know how to bargain, Amma always bargains. You're paying whatever they ask. So I took her the next day to a place and I found a little girl, somewhat similar age sitting, and I went. She was packing, peas, which she had from the taken out, and she was putting it into little plastic bags, 100 grams each. I told her, don't you have school? She said, no, today we had to do this because my mother said all of us should work today. So I got up at 3 o'clock and I come from Kanakpura to sell it here. Okay. Probably grown in poisoned Kaveri water. Okay. And I said, how long did it take for you to remove it from the pod and to fill it into this thing? She said, and before I had finished, my daughter had tears in her eyes. She was crying. She understood what it is to bargain with her. When women do it, it's okay. It's a kind of give and take game it is. My thing is, think about it. If you are successful at somebody else's cost, if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, it doesn't matter. You are the problem. You are not the solution. And if you want to be ethical and rational, you have to imagine that when you do something that is going to be good for you, it's going to be good for everybody in the community. Whatever you imagine that community to be, whether it is India or your college, your caste or religious community, your neighborhood, whatever it is, if you throw garbage into the street, it is wrong. You are one because nothing that you have is yours. You are one of everyone. And you have to be everyone to be a rational, ethical person. So I'm saying, ask how I can be successful differently. See, climate change is permanent in your lifetime, in the lifetime of your grandchildren's 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 grandchildren. It will not improve. If you start cleaning it up now, it'll take 400 years for the planet to become healthy again. What you can do is stop making it worse. If you don't do it, you'll have $1 billion in the bank, but you'll not be able to get out of your house because of air pollution. You'll not be able to drink water out of a tap or water that comes from a tanker A water comes in the bottle. It has fecal matter. Every bottled water thing was once examined in Bangalore. All of them had fecal matter. Okay? It's going to get much worse. It's not going to get better. Every year, we are pretending that climate change, this year we're in an extreme climate event. Every year you'll have more and more further extreme climate events. It's going to get worse. And you have a double whammy. There are 16 transformative technologies happening. Whatever is based on prior learning, even for me, acting, I won't be required because they can take my face from before, computers, machine learning, robotics, animation can generate it. We don't need doctors who do medical practice on prior learning because you've made quality into quantity. You have to fall into this bandwidth of, so much diabetes count, so much liver something count. You're healthy. Then you're not healthy. Each one of us is different. We should have had customized medicine, but we don't have it because it's not profitable. Unless you standardize, it's not profitable. That is what success is. It's made us all equally unhealthy. So, in conclusion, I tell you, think about this. If you can make a difference, change the world, reverse the decline that humans have got into, will make it different. Remember the great central core idea of what you must do, your purpose in life. One of them is articulated very, I'm not a religious person, but it's articulated very well. You should do, whatever you do should be with dharma. Dharma means doing the right thing. It should be with dharma, dharmartha. Artha is what you achieve as a result, tangible result. Dharmartha. It should be kamartha. You should want to do it. You should not do it, I have this thing to do here. You should not do that. You should love your work. 3, it should be artha. You must think there will be a tangible, achievable result at the end of it. You may fail. She said, karmanyavadikaristi. You may fail in the effort, but the effort should be there and should believe that it can be realized. And then there is a fourth one, moksha. It's a little complicated. After you do that, you must say, namama, not mine, you must say. So you can move on and do the next big thing. Okay? Thank you very much.